course, art is not a course. You need like a real plan. I remember how I literally felt like I was drowning. Like I literally felt lifeless walking. I decided that I was going to quit my job, go back to Jos. So I grew up in Jos and start a farm. Eventually resigned from my job and I was broke. Like a short storytelling time about how I literally left my job to start a business. I wanted to be an artist. I always loved art. It connects us all somehow. And I had initially thought that I would be a 3D animator because I loved the stories of, I loved cartoons actually. Like the fact that you had to build everything from ground up. And then the characters also were made. You could design them however you wanted to. Like there were no rules literally. Well, there are rules, but like, you get what I mean. I really did think I was going to read art in school. And my parents were like, of course, art is not a course. You need like a real plan and all of that. So I was like, you know what? I'll do computer science and then I would do 3D animation with it. So that made perfect sense. But then I did 3D animation for internship and I just realized how much work it took to literally model like a character. And then you rig it and then you animate it. I'm like, oh my god, this is not as fun as it looks on the screen. Like it is a lot of work, and you know you had to make it look realistic. If you wanted it to look better, you had to make it high definition, all that stuff. So and I realized, okay, I'll probably try coding for a while and see how that goes. And then coding wasn't as bad actually. So after school I went for internship. So in Nigeria we have something that's called NYSC, where you like serve the country for a year. So they literally post you to any state in the 36 states of Nigeria, and then you get a job somewhere and be a teacher or whatever. So I worked as a software developer intern in a company that I had interviewed with before I graduated, which was good. And then I ended up staying there for like 6 years. And the first year was like, yeah, I'm solving the world's problem. Second year was like, yeah, I'm solving the world's problem. By the fourth year, I'm like, oh my god, I have a big problem. So I was a back-end developer. Let me give context to it. I was doing C# at that time, but then my company wanted to build like an app. So we're a fintech, so we wanted to do like a social financial app. But then by the time we looked at the fees for like our commission after all the work, it was really going to be really little. So we started to think, okay, how can we increase our costs? And the only way to do it was to build our own switching company. And blockchain had just come out, so my boss was like, you know what, we can build a blockchain switch. He was just on fire. And then guess who was on the team to go learn how to do that? So I was just trying to explore tech and I just got thrown in the deep end. And you know how tech's deep end can be. Like no sleep, no social life. You literally wake up, code, sleep. While you're sleeping, you're trying to fix a bug in your head, wake up, code, sleep, like that. So I literally had no social life. And I got to a point where I felt like I was literally drowning. I had a very good reason for starting this video, honestly, but now that I'm here, I'm just like, what's the point of what I'm saying? Anyway, so I did learn a lot from tech. I did learn a lot from like watching people run businesses. I did learn a lot from teamwork and just how to make it like what people need in a team, like what people look for. Like people are willing to stay and work for people, not necessarily because of the pay, but because of how it makes them feel like family or how they're part of a bigger thing, and how just like the small details that we pay attention to, like telling people you appreciate them, rewarding people for like efforts to put in, being able to notice what people are doing and being able to call it out like, oh yeah, I noticed you did this XYZ, how it makes all the difference, right, when building a company. So by my fourth year I was already done. I was exhausted. I needed to leave, I needed to find, and I feel like maybe I felt that way about tech because of how much work I was doing and how intense it was. Maybe if I had worked for a different company that was doing less, it may have been better. Anyway, so I now realized that, oh my, I think I want to be an artist. Like, I think I literally want to paint and make money from that. So, in fact, 2019, which was about 3 years of working, I decided that I was going to quit my job, go back to Jos. So I grew up in Jos and start a farm, and I'll be fine. I was like, nothing can be worse than this. Like I've gotten the baseline. Like I can't fall any further than that. I will start a farm somehow and I'll make money. Anyway, so I'm a Christian, by the way, if you don't know. So you probably hear a lot about God in doing this series. So he's a friend to me. He's more than a friend, but yeah, let's start with friendship. So And when I wanted to leave 2019, of course, he said it wasn't time. I didn't get to go ahead. So I usually ask him about things like that. Anything that feels like major, everything actually is major life changing. So yeah. So I did talk to him about it and I didn't get go ahead. Said, I was just like, you know what, I'll wait. And then 2020, so backstory. 2020, I just started a business by then. But it was just a business name. I hadn't done anything with it. And then I got this idea to like create art pieces and sell merchandise with them. So in my head, I was going to have a no inventory business. I was literally just going to make art pieces, use drop shipping to fulfill my orders. So money was coming in, money was fulfilling orders, money was entering my account. Like I didn't have to do inventory, I didn't have to keep stock, I didn't have to do any of that work, or so I thought. And then so that was COVID year and shipping was on you. You know how shipping was that year, like if you ordered an item to take forever because of the lockdowns that happened worldwide. So I ordered an item and it took like 3 months for the item to come here, and I was just like, bruh, like this plan can't work. And God said, do it in Nigeria. And I just pretended I didn't hear him for a while. So like, how am I supposed to start making hoodies in Nigeria? First of all, let's say that if I am book smart, my street smartness was like at 50%. And then, you know, if you want to buy stuff, you need to be able to like bargain, you have a certain look, like, so they won't take you for granted. I didn't have any of that. It was very awkward, to be honest. So I finally eventually, so I had like dreams, back-to-back dreams, and in dream of like about to write an exam, and I remember I have a hoodie on the line, or I go to the back of the house and there'll be a hoodie hang, like there were hoodies chasing me, and I was like, you know what, fine, God, I'm going to finally get this started. So by 2020, I did get some hoodies made, but then I didn't have the courage to sell it. After making the hoodies, I was like, okay, who's going to buy these hoodies? So I just packed them somewhere in my house and kept them there. But I wanted to take you guys on a journey of, you know, most times we think that life like, there's a certain perspective we have about life, right? How you think that, oh, if you do just one thing, then everything else falls into order, and then you get a big break immediately. While that happens, I have learned majorly that life really is about you becoming a certain type of person, and everything you're looking for literally is attracted to a certain version of you that you need to become. It's in the way you think about yourself, the way you think about situations, the way you approach situations, is in your being, right? And so I was unprepared for a rude awakening. So I did sell some hoodies that year, and then again I packed the business to one side. But then 2022, finally, after like a few more years of working, I felt God say it was time. So in my head, I'm just like, you know what? God has told me to start this business, and I'm leaving my tech job, which means that this business is going to bloom. I'm going to make a lot more money than I was from doing tech. Obviously, I was going to have life sorted. By the way, let me backtrack again. I'm a control freak. Everything has to be in a certain way in my head. Like when I think about something, I need the solution before I start it. So it was so bad that I would never take a risk if I do not have it. Like if I don't know what my failure rates are. I was not like a high risk taker. So if I'm about to do something, I'm about 90% sure that I'm going to make it, right? And then one of the things I hated doing was drive. I hate driving to places I don't know. Like that's how bad it is. I need to know where I'm going before I go. And I lived in Lagos for a while, and at one point they were like fixing roads in Lagos. So the path I knew was blocked, and I had to figure out an alternative route. And I remember I would just stop on the road and start crying. I'm just like, oh my God, how am I going to get home? That happened about 3 times, and one day God was like, you know what, even if you get lost in life, like I'm able to find you. So I was just like, you know what, maybe it's not all that big in my head. Because when I heard people say, oh my God, I left my job, you look at superheroes and people like literally who saved the world, I'm like, bruh, like you have so much faith, like how are you able to do that? It was just a very big thing to me, because for me that was my whole world. That was where my provision came from, that was where my security came from, that's where my identity also came from, which I found out later. So after a series of, trying to find the courage to leave, I felt like that word, whatever God told me about, him being able to redirect me, because I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to ruin my life, right? I didn't want to be a foolish person who left something good to chase something that wasn't tangible. And everybody knows that if you want to run a business, especially in Nigeria, you need all the forces of the universe to work in your favor. Okay, I'm joking, but it can be pretty tough with all the regulations we have and all the issues and the reputations parents have globally. Doesn't help us. So yeah, so I eventually resigned from my job and I was broke. I was broke. Like I was waiting for, so I resigned from my job in October, September. Sent my resignation letter September, October. I left my job December because I wanted to get 13-month salary, obviously. Well, actually, God said I should wait till December, but yeah, I did. 13-month salary was a good benefit, so he saw wisely. And then my first sales after I left my job was in March. So from January, February, March, nothing on my business side moved. Now, a high performer, very goal-oriented, who was well-sustained financially. It's like everything I knew or relied on for strength was now failing me. My need to do so. This is how it worked before. You wake up in the morning. So we had 8 o'clock meetings. Now you work, then by 6 o'clock you have another stand-up meeting to discuss the progress you've had during the day. And then from that 6 o'clock stand-up meeting, you're supposed to have a new report by the time you resume 8 a.m. again. This were for like very normal days. For days when work was like you had to do stuff, we literally sleep like 1 a.m. You'll be calling someone on, you know, the, what's it called, Teams ringtone. That thing was a major, it just made my heart beat like, oh my God, what's happening? And then we're working with fintech. So if anything was down, like that was money going, that was reputation, that was someone's job on the line. It was just really crazy. Anyway, so coming from that place where I had to be doing something, like my validation of my worth was in how much stuff I was doing. Leaving that to come and be like, yeah, I'm designing t-shirts, I'm, you know, creating XYZ. I just felt useless. So I was just like, is this how life, like I felt very useless. I felt like I had lost it. Like I was just like, God, this is not normal. Like I needed to be active, I needed to be doing something, I needed to be making things move. So I would say that in this first video that I have no idea what I'm doing, I would say that I feel like one of the things I'm really grateful for, even though like I got to a place, I got to the end of myself basically. But what was good for me is I just realized that there's so much more to life. I think that working in 9 to 5 shielded me from a lot of myself. I didn't know a lot of myself because I didn't have opportunities to express those versions of myself. And I'm not saying leave your job, by the way, but I'm saying that like regardless of whatever path you choose, you would always have opportunities to grow. And sometimes those opportunities to grow may not show up looking like opportunities for growth. They will show up looking like disaster. They will show up looking like fire. They will show up looking like your life is about to fall apart. They will show up looking like different things. But I'm serious that as long as you tell yourself that you're able to get it done, and as long as you're able to see the life in it, the God in it, you're able to know that someone else in this universe has done this before and they've made it work somehow, then it's easier to tell yourself that you also can do it, right? Maybe you want to start something new, or you just feel like there's a lot more to life. Because I remember how I literally felt like I was drowning, like I literally felt lifeless, and I would try to explain it to like people I loved. I'm like, this, like, yes, this is a secure job, but I don't feel alive. Like I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And they'll just be like, oh yeah, you know, it's fine, probably should go get another degree. Like a degree is not going to help me right now. But I was going somewhere and I've lost my train of thoughts. But yes, I like to say that the world is like a blank check and you get whatever you demand. But whenever you ask, your ask will be tested. Like you would be proved for your ask. Because whatever you lack capacity to hold, even if you're giving it, you will lose it eventually. And so it's like a proofing system, at least the way I see it, it's like a proofing system for the universe. So you want to be a certain way, or you want to have a certain thing. You will be given a range of tests to prove that if that thing comes your way, you can hold it. And sometimes you will get it and you will lose it if you don't have the capacity, character, mindset to retain it. So a lot of life is in your head, really. It's the way you see life. I have to see life like a virtual reality game. Everything looks real, but nothing is really real. It's code that you can build and tear down and alter to suit whatever the gamer wants to make. And a lot of things are in your hands to change. The question is, do you know the programming language of life? And if you do, can you change your life to suit whatever reality you want? So I'll stop here for today. And I'd like to hear about your own experiences trying something new. If you're thinking that there's something else that you'd rather be doing, what I'll tell you is go for it. You will find what you're looking for as long as you're willing to keep asking for it. So